This is exactly where I think we currently are in the crypto market, and I'm going to use Bitcoin's chart to explain. So I think most people right now are expecting one more massive drop for the market and then some kind of accumulation phase and expansion going into, 2020 and 2029. But where I think we are is actually the moment right before a massive parabolic move to the upside happens for Bitcoin and specifically altcoins. Because on this channel, that's what we mainly focus on is altcoins, right? But if I use the RSI below with Bitcoin, you can see that if we take this high from 2017 and we draw a trend line across the tops, you can see it's pretty clear resistance, right? You had resistance, resistance, resistance one more time in August 2020, and then a breakout. If you look at price as well, it's actually a pretty similar setup. Not exactly, but pretty similar, right? And then what happened is anything before this breakout, whatever happened for altcoins was pretty insignificant compared to what we saw when Bitcoin broke out, right? Specifically against the RSI. Because once we went into the overbought territory and price broke out as well, from October 2020 to, roughly April 2021, this, 4 or 5, 6 month span is when altcoins went parabolic, and this is the best time to sell, right? Obviously, you want to position before and then sell as the market goes up when everything's parabolic. And if you would have sold up here at the top and not worried about the crypto market for a few years, you would have been way better off than trying to get the exact top, which happened, 6 months later on Bitcoin. But most alts actually made lower highs. So this was the best time to have alts and sell. The second parabolic move, if we use another trend line and drag it across the tops, you had 2020 resistance, 2023 resistance, two times. Once you broke out, this was go time for altcoins. It was also the most parabolic 6 months for Bitcoin. Kind of crazy how it works. When Bitcoin's in the overbought territory and going parabolic, that's when altcoins make massive moves, right? And it doesn't matter if it's breaking into new all-time highs or not. What it matters is the volume and the momentum to the upside. That's what sends altcoins higher. But you can see that price also had a pretty clean resistance, right? Not perfect, but once this broke out and the RSI, it was go time for alts. So, for the last 6 years, we've had two great opportunities to, hold altcoins and sell them. And it's been late 2020 to early 2021 and late 2023 to early 2024, right? And I think what we're about to see over the next 6 months, more or less, going into the end of the year, is something similar to, these two previous moves where Bitcoin went nuts. Because as you can see, if we drag a trend line and we connect the tops, you have a very clear resistance happening, right? Yeah, resistance, resistance, resistance. The RSI already completely reset 6 months ago, so this was the start of the accumulation phase. And, what I think is going to happen more or less is you're going to see that move up to this resistance on the RSI, and then you're going to see a breakout, and things are going to be going absolutely parabolic for altcoins, right? And, something I wanted to point out is even though, the resistance is all the way up here, we could start going parabolic before that, right? When this just starts barely moving up. I don't know. Because if you look at let's see, give me 1 second. I need to pull up the Bitcoin Gold chart. Bitcoin Gold, you can see that this has a very similar structure with the RSI, just like Bitcoin USD. But the difference is if you connect the resistance lines or the tops from 2024, this is actually closer than Bitcoin USD. So this makes me think that we could see a massive explosion to the upside before this even breaks out of the 53 mark. So that's why I'm positioning right now. Because I think if we're sitting around waiting for a breakout, that's probably not the best idea because prices are going to be much higher, right? Anyways, what I think is going to happen is you can see we have a pretty clean resistance level, pretty much since the summer of 2025. And I think once you start breaking out of this, above 65, 70,000, and this RSI starts sending above 50, 60, I think you're going to enter the next, massive parabolic phase that lasts, 4, 5, 6 months. And when that happens, all of the altcoins you've been accumulating for months now, that is going to be the time to sell, right? Because when Bitcoin's going the most parabolic, that is the best time to sell altcoins. And anything after that, I mean, we'll have to reevaluate once we reach these levels, but I think the most parabolic phase for alts is going to be happening over the next 6 months. This is not financial advice, just my opinions, but I think we're much closer to seeing the move than most people think.